Hi, everyone. Welcome in again. If you just joined in the past minute or so, my name's Daniel. I am an account manager for Hudu. Nice to see some familiar faces in here. And Jordan, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Jordan Hart. I'm a product manager here at Hudu. And yeah, excited to hop into a reflection of the quarter and talk about some things that we're working on. So,
Yeah, definitely. It's been a pretty busy quarter for Hudu. If you follow us on our socials or our Reddit, you've probably seen a lot more posts this past quarter than the previous quarters. Which hopefully, that's you're enjoying the posts and the content and the best practices and the releases and everything in between. So today's agenda, kind of what we're going to be going through today. If you've joined one of these before, it's going to work pretty similar. We'll do our Q3 review. We're going to start by going through our organization and structure series that we just are wrapping up here now. We'll look at the features of our two main product releases that we had during this past quarter. Talk a little bit about those external app releases as well. And then we will basically go through announcements of new features and talk about our next topic in our documentation beats conversion series. A quarter through, and we finally named the series Documentation Beats Conversion. So jumping into our Documentation Beats Conversion series, Jordan, if you want to go ahead and link our website page for all of this information. Again, we just wrapped up our first kind of quarter series of our Documentation Beats Conversion series, and this was focused on organization and structure. Through that, we released 5 blogs, 12 tips and tricks, 3 downloadable resources, had 2 partner webinars, 3 monthly training webinars, and a Reddit AMA. That was a lot. All of this was released. Hopefully you saw that on our Reddit. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, documentation beats conversation, not conversion. That was my mistake. So either way, this is what we released during this quarter. If you want to check, we basically recorded all of this, whether it was webinars or obviously we have access, gave you access to the blogs and tips and tricks. Feel free to check out any of these items. Obviously have a lot. Also, welcome in Wade from South Africa. Love that mother's lasagna. Either way, check out this. Jordan linked it for you. A lot of different resources for you. And obviously, at the end of this quarter recap, we will talk about what's coming next. So, first release of this quarter was release version 2.33. A couple of our major features released during this release was a new address field type and some Mapbox support with that with multiple pins. Again, I'll go through the product in a bit and kind of show off some of these features. Compare asset differences. We already had our compare article differences, KB differences. Now we have our compare asset differences. We also added a asset link field type that can pull from multiple asset layouts. So you'll see here we can pull from all asset layouts rather than just having a singular asset layout to pull from. And something really cool, I just mentioned our documentation beats conversation series. Well, one of our monthly training webinars, this feature actually came out of a feature request requested during one of those webinars. So if you want to join and request a feature that has to do with something we're training about, hey, maybe it'll get added in the next release. Then we had 2.34. Now, this was obviously a very big release focused on that first phase of our permissions overhaul, with the main thing being this ability to add users to multiple groups. And again, I know we'll probably get questions on permissions. We are going to touch on, what's coming next in this permissions overhaul a bit later. So just keep that in mind as well. You can also now manage permissions from the user profile, additional admin password, generator defaults. So those are going to be some big items with the new permissions. Again, I'll go show this off here in a bit. A couple other big things. Hopefully, you've noticed by now that you've had a massive performance and speed increase in your instance. This was a huge part of this update, and we were super excited to be able to launch this for you. So hopefully, you've noticed that. I know in our Reddit threads, we've had a lot of comments on how techs have been noticing that the speed is faster, which is awesome to hear. Support for Azure OpenAI, and we've now made it to where the default behavior of links open in a new tab rather than open in the same tab. This was also a highly requested feature on our feedback map, so really happy that we were able to deliver this as well. Taylor, love that. Very much faster. Very nice. I love that. That's great to hear. Our development team definitely put a lot of work in this update into making Hudu faster. So thanks for the feedback and letting us know that that is true for you. So I am now going to jump back or jump into the Hudu environment here. And we're just going to go through a couple of these features, showing them off here. Again, if you have questions on any of them, feel free to toss them in the chat or the Q&A. Either one works. So starting off here with the permission side of things. So we'll start off with our groups tab here. So within groups, you'll notice this screen is a little bit different. And as you can see from the info section here, groups update, we've recently made some important changes to how groups work and added the ability to assign users to multiple groups. If you're going through and you want to read our FAQs on this, click here. Obviously, with this permissions update, there's going to be some questions about functionality, adding, deny list, all of that stuff. Read through the FAQs. It'll definitely clear some things up for you. But new groups interface, the interface is completely new. The functionality is going to be pretty similar with the allow list and deny list for companies. The restrictions that you can add, all of that's going to be remaining pretty similar. You can check all for asset layouts now, which is pretty nice. But the main difference in like the functionality at the group level outside of just being able to add users to multiple groups is you can actually do this now just at the user level. Previously, you had to do this in the group level. Now, if I am on Jacob Hart here and I want to add Jacob to multiple groups, all my groups are going to populate and I can add him to literally as many groups as I want from his user profile page. He's now added to all of these groups here, and the permissions that we have for those groups now apply to Jacob. So that's definitely something that is pretty cool. Now, also, when you're adding permissions for a singular item, let's say I have a password here and I want to go add permissions for this item. Right now, all my groups have access, but maybe I want to block a default group. Well, you'll see here when I hit view who currently has access, you'll see only one person is now not permitted from seeing this. And basically this is what's new. Outside of the look of it, you can view who currently has access from this screen. So maybe I want to block another group and see what that changes. Look, now we have a lot more people that are blocked from viewing this password. So that's another kind of cool thing that was added. Another thing is going to be the admin password generator default. So as I go into our security tab here, in addition to our typical security functionality, you now have your password generator defaults here. So now your admin can come in here and you can specify what you want the default for your password generator to be. Maybe we want a default to easier to read with a character length of 30. Whatever it may be, we want to default to include these, and then we save the changes. So that's something new that's pretty cool. If you use our password generator, now you can just standardize what is going to be generated every time. So that's really the majority of what I wanted to show with that 2.34. With our 2.33, a couple of things that I would like to show. First of all, like I showed, that asset link field type can now pull from all assets. So here, if I go into edit field, you'll see this asset link field type. And right now I'm pulling from people, but if I want to go ahead and pull from all asset layouts, I have the ability to do so. The number one kind of use case that we've seen with this is for something maybe like network devices. Now, instead of creating multiple asset links to maybe different network devices, now you can just pull from all of those asset layouts. because maybe you separate your network devices into multiple different asset layouts. Again, now we can pull from all of them rather than have to pick in each one. uh Another big thing is, I mentioned this earlier, we've always had our compare asset differences. Well, I shouldn't say always, but for the past few updates for our KB articles here. If I go into the revision history of a KB article, I can compare the differences between the current and previous version. That is also now true for our assets. So as I click into a desktop asset here and scroll down and go into the revision history of this desktop, as I click back into the most recent version and hit compare differences, it'll show me what's changed between the versions. So here I can see that, okay, the only thing that changed for this update was the warranty expiration changed from, expiring in June 2024 to December 2024. So essentially, adding this compare differences can be a huge help in making sure that those assets are audited, and you can see exactly what's changing from, time to time. And then the last thing I'll touch on is our Mapbox support with that new address field type. So if you do utilize Mapbox and the new address field type, you'll see that that map actually pulls in directly to the asset field type now. So we see here in this field, the Tampa office, we have a map and it shows exactly where that's pinned. If I go back and go into the Denver office, it's going to show the exact same thing. Now, this also adds to our dashboard for the company, and it shows those pins on the map here. So if you do have multiple sites or locations, you can see all of those pinned on your map here. Now, those are going to be the primary things that I wanted to touch on here. So I'm going to jump back into the slides real quick here. And Jordan, do we have any, I know you've been monitoring the chat and the Q&A here. Do we have any questions or anything right now that you wanted to touch on?
I've answered most of them. We had a question come up on keyboard shortcuts from Adam. We are actively planning our keyboard shortcuts feature. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll make it into our Q4 releases, but we are hoping that it'll be early Q1 2025 when we can get that out. We've been gathering quite a lot of feedback on keyboard shortcuts and have our designers kind of developing a plan for us, right, going forward. So a great question. We know it's a cool feature that'll be coming up, and hopefully it'll be here soon. So we do actually have another question from Taylor. Would love to see the ability for asset cards from a synced integration have the ability to grab information from that card and map it into the asset layout field. Taylor, yes, that does make sense. It's actually one of our goals for Q4 of this year. I'll touch on that in a little bit further down in the webinar, but yes, we are going to be starting development on mapping the integration data into custom fields. So.
And Taylor, I meet with customers all the time, and that is definitely one of the things that I hear the most. So you are not alone in that. We definitely hear the feedback, and our development team definitely that's something that they're trying to do here. And Jordan will touch on that a bit more later. Outside of main app here, outside of the main app here, we also have had a couple of external app releases. So mobile app, browser extension. So for the mobile app, last time we did our quarter update, we had released mobile photos. This time we have now released mobile assets. You can access both your assets and asset layouts from the app. And you can open an online version of that asset from within the app. I do believe Jordan's going to touch on a little bit more about upcoming mobile stuff a little bit later, but if not, there are plans to obviously keep on improving the mobile app as well as the browser extension. Moving on to the browser extension, which obviously a big part of this now does include Hudu Assist. We did release version 2 of Hudu Assist this quarter, which expanded access to all pages in your PSA and RMM while you're in Assist. And now includes built-in search. So obviously Hudu Assist is a newer thing for Hudu in general. And obviously your feedback has been great in making these improvements. We definitely want to provide more integrations with Assist, as well as just functionality within Assist in general. Other improvements to the browser extension in general, we did add a search bar to the suggestions tab while you're in the browser extension, and admin can now disable the Hudu browser extension just like you were able to do with the mobile app. So again, Q&A, but I believe we've kind of already answered the questions that have been thrown in there. Again, this is an interactive experience. If you have questions, we don't need to wait for a Q&A time. Get your questions in. Jordan or I will go ahead and just answer them as they come in. So, looking ahead now, as I'm sure it's always hard to tell whether people come for the recap or they just want to know what's coming next. And so obviously we want to touch on both those things. So looking ahead, we can touch on some upcoming features that you can expect, as we're approaching Q4 here. And then we'll go ahead and touch about our next topic in our documentation, Beats Conversation series. See, I got it right that time, Amy, conversation. So Jordan, you want to take it away with the kind of upcoming features and things that we can talk about today?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to switch to that next slide, perfect. So some of the main things that we're going to be working on in this upcoming quarter and a little bit into the future of 2025 and Q1, big major thing is going to be continuing on the permissions update. We took this update and we know there's a lot of changes that could happen to permissions to make them more powerful. We wanted to take those into phases as it does have some or could have some big implications to environments. So we want to take these piece by piece and get them out to you, receive feedback so we can fix any major things that may come along, but then also just continuing development on those. The next kind of big feature that's going to be a part of the permissions overhaul is going to be folder level permissions. So we currently have folder level permissions for passwords. We're going to be introducing folder level permissions for knowledge base articles. This will work pretty similarly to how permissions work with the password folders, where you're able to assign which groups have access to the folders. And it'll really just give a little bit more granular way and efficient way of restricting or allowing technicians to access, excuse me, access different knowledge base folders within your environment. The way this will kind of work is articles will adopt some of those permissions. So you really only have to set permissions at that folder level instead of each individual article. The next major thing is bringing documentation tools, which most of them are currently found within the admin section, into their own whole new section, which we are going to go ahead and name tools. This is going to do a couple things for environments. It's going to, one, put all of those documentation tools and some of the global tools all into a single location. It's also going to reduce the amount of admin only level features. Things like flag review and flag types, currently only one of them is available to editors. Those should be available to all roles, although there will be some restrictions that can be placed on things. But essentially creating a whole new tab on your dashboard so you have all of the global items as well as those documentation tools in a single location that more technicians can access. We are going to be working or currently working on some improved asset exporting. This is mainly focused towards your asset layout tables when you're within a company, so that you can go ahead and easily create a report for a certain company of all of the asset information directly from the company itself, as opposed to the major export that it can be found in the admin. Next up is what we are calling Hudu Bridge. This is a really cool one if you are a co-managed IT company or MSP, if you're utilizing a help desk company to help out, and or if you have potentially a parent MSP that or are a parent MSP that is monitoring multiple different environments. This will allow you to connect multiple Hudu environments together. so that you can stay within your own Hudu environment, browse to another, and access the information to help service more clients. So this is a really cool one that we're hoping to release in Q4. It is towards the ending of its development, and we're hoping that it can kind of open up Hudu to those co-managed IT and MSPs, as well as any help desk companies. So you can bring on that extra support while keeping your Hudu environment how you like it. As Daniel mentioned, in 2.34, we released a ton of speed improvements. We're going to continue with almost every single release, trying to enhance the product's performance as much as possible and bring those speed improvements. We know that as a technician, a big part of it is saving time. So we don't want Hudu to be the limiting factor there. We want it to work as consistently and quickly as possible. So we're going to continue developing on the performance of the infrastructure as much as we possibly can. In terms of integrations, and unfortunately, it does look like one of them got cut off, but I'll go ahead and mention that. We have a couple cool things coming with the integrations. The first one's going to be a integration with Cloudflare that will allow you to bring information into Hudu directly from Cloudflare. This is kind of wrapped in with our new integration UI, which we are going to be testing on. It'll go out to beta, but we're going to be testing it with just the Cloudflare integration at first. And this should hopefully make integration setup a little bit quicker, easier, more intuitive. If you've been using Hudu for a while, that is one of the features that we get probably the most complaints on is integration setup is just not quite as seamless as it could be. It's a little bit confusing when you first get into Hudu. So we'd like to improve that process for new and existing users, make it as quick and easy as possible. And while we're at it, bring in additional information from that new integration, Cloudflare. The next part of the integrations is what Taylor mentioned. We're going to go ahead and do custom field mapping. So integration information currently is pulled into those integration cards. We're going to allow you to map that information from the integrations into those custom fields that you've spent time building and you already have the information from the integrations. We're going to go ahead and let you map that information into those fields. This not only does it allow you to not have to reproduce that information into those custom fields, it's also going to bring a lot of the Hudu power or the table power that we have been releasing on, like sorting and filtering, and it'll allow you to do that with integration information as well. On top of that, it'll enhance the exports of Hudu, so you can get a lot of information all in that export from both custom information as well as your integrations. So that's going to be a really cool one. And again, a major focus of our Q4 for our integration team. On the side of external apps, so within Hudu, we consider a lot of the external apps. That would be mobile app, browser extension, Hudu Assist, and ConnectWise Screen Connect Helper. In terms of the mobile app, some things that we're going to be releasing, Daniel touched on the ability to view assets coming in the latest release of the mobile app. The next one coming up is going to be editing and adding those assets. So you're actually going to be able to manage a lot more of your Hudu environment from the mobile app itself. So whether you're on a on-client site or maybe you just prefer utilizing the mobile app after all the improvements that have been made on it, you'll be able to, again, add more functionality to it, edit and add assets, as well as a more comprehensive view of those assets. You'll have access to that right-hand side panel where all the related items and comments and things like that are. You'll have access to that from within the mobile app as well. Next up is talking about Hudu Assist. So as Daniel mentioned, we have been doing a ton of development on Hudu Assist, bringing the power of Hudu into your PSAs and RMMs and allowing your technicians to stay within those products while still having Hudu at their fingertips. What we're going to be focusing on for this quarter on Hudu Assist is going to be just additional PSA support. So up next, we do have ConnectWise coming up, ConnectWise PSA as the next Hudu Assist integration that we're going to be releasing. This has been a massive one in terms of feedback and comments that we've gotten. Pretty much everybody's asked us, when is Hudu Assist coming to ConnectWise? Well, it is coming now. We are going to be releasing that this quarter. And finally, with these more on ConnectWise, with the ConnectWise Screen Connect helper, it's going to be undergoing a redesign of the UI. So hopefully just making it more functional and more useful to users when you're utilizing Screen Connect. And I do see some questions popping up. I will continue to look at those as we go through. But that is going to be the major goals of our Q4. And again, a little bit into Q1 of 2025. We're hoping to have most of these completed by the probably about the first month of Q1 if they are not completed by Q4 this year. So hopping into some questions. Can we get a setting for adjusting the location of the assist button? It overlaps with a few buttons in Halo PSA, similar to the position of the password indicator. Helmet, that is definitely something I can bring back to our engineers, our external app engineers, so we can kind of look at it. Hudu Assist does have the option to adjust it if you want it on the right or left side of the screen, but there's probably some additional customization options that we could offer to move that around. I'll just have to get back with my engineers and see what possibilities we have. Let's see. Adding pictures to export of a customer would be amazing. Emil, we have seen this question. Unfortunately, I don't think that our engineers have had a chance to really look into this too much, but it is, we are aware of it. One thing I'd recommend, upvoting that on our feature request if you haven't. And again, I can bring this back to my team and see if there's any possibilities of getting it on the schedule. Again, we do have as you can see, a pretty packed Q4, so this likely would not be something we could get in. But we're always open to that feedback, and we love to develop the features that you're looking for. So. Dennis has a question a little bit on the expansion of permissions. He's asking, is it possible or planned to have custom user roles instead of the existing fixed roles? So Dennis, yes, this is actually something that we do have planned for the permissions overhaul. I'm not sure if it's going to be immediately following the folder level permissions. We still have to kind of evaluate where we can fit that into our schedule. But that is essentially the exact idea that we do have for adding those additional roles. We won't change any of the current ones, but we will be implementing a custom role. You could create as many custom roles as you'd like, and that would be a more granular way of choosing what information people have access to. Any plans on updating the integration for Unify using their new API? Would this allow us to use devices that connect from unify.ui.com portal? So yeah, if anybody's not aware, Unify did just publicly release their API for their cloud product. We have had our engineers kind of take a look. Again, with the custom field mapping, our integration team's going to be pretty booked for Q4, as that's going to be a pretty large feature. But we are aware that they just released that API, and it is something that we'd like to improve upon. Not only the new integration, but improve upon our existing Unify integration. So yes, Taylor, absolutely. We will be looking into how we can integrate with that and bring that data into Hudu as well. Let's see, Adam, some API improvements. Haven't seen anything about this since. Can you expand on any API expansion or improvements that might be ahead? Specifically, API access to add users, assign templates, and processes. So Adam, yes, in terms of the API improvements to specifically processes, that will actually be in development in Q4 of this year. We're going to be adding a lot of things for the processes over the next probably few quarters, even where we're enhancing our processes, and we have tons of ideas for this. One of them will be API access. In terms of the other things, I would have to check on that. Being able to assign templates, I'm not quite sure if that's within the scope of the project that we're looking at. But yes, process via the API and various other API enhancements. We've got some bulk asset management with the API coming up. So we do have quite a few plans for API enhancements. Taylor has a question. Will Atera be up soon for Hudu Assist, or is it further down the list? Taylor, right now we only have ConnectWise kind of up on the slate. We are evaluating the other integrations and which one we want to go next. Atera is one of the larger integrations that we work with, so I would assume that we'll be looking at that in the near future. Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline. What I can do is just recommend post it on our feedback.hudu.com page. We don't have a lot of feedback on which integrations people would like to see with Assist. And that typically tends to be the best place to go ahead and post that information so we can kind of judge where should we go next with Hudu Assist. Dennis has one major problem with the documentation export is that the OTP tokens are not exported, so MFA secured accounts are not exported properly. Is this something planned to update this? The documentation export is a bit useless unless we're able to export these tokens. Dennis, I do believe there's a way to get the MFA tokens out. I'd have to check on that just to confirm. We definitely want to allow you to get all your password information out. But on this one, honestly, if you don't mind emailing me, Jordan at hudu.com, JORDAN at hudu.com, be happy to kind of reach out to the engineers and figure out how we can get that working for you. All right. I mean, I think I answered, I got to every question. If I didn't, please, feel free to email me, Jordan at hudu.com. I'm happy to talk more on any of these features, some of the plans, happy to, brainstorm features if you have ideas. So we like to be as open as possible. Our feedback.hudu.com page is a great way to provide suggestions to our team. I pretty much monitor that every day just to see if there's anything that we may be missing on features that we're developing. So please feel free to throw those into the feedback or shoot me an email. We can kind of chat ideas or potential things that you're thinking about. Other than that, though, continue answering questions or asking questions. I'll continue monitoring the chat as Daniel kind of guides us through the finishing things of the webinar.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Jordan. And that's great. Seriously, no matter if you've been using Hudu for, a couple weeks or years, I hope you know that we are here to help. And there's a reason that Jordan and I pretty much provide our personal contact information for Hudu, all of our webinars, because if you want to reach out to us and you have questions, typically I'll say like current feature stuff, account stuff, reach out to me. I'll send my email in the chat as well. And Jordan just mentioned what you can reach out to him for. Reach out to us personally. We are happy to have that conversation and happy to help. In addition, obviously, places like our Reddit are great ways that if you're, following us in our Reddit frequently, you'll see that we post quite a bit in there as well. So now introducing our next documentation series topic. Again, we just kind of wrapped up our organization and structure. That was our first quarter of this documentation series. The next quarter, that will include everything that we did in this quarter, just with the new topic, is going to be managing your documentation. So what's going to be covered in this topic and kind of what managing your documentation entails is how Hudu helps you manage your documentation and how Hudu helps manage your clients. A big theme of this is going to be, why should your customers choose to use you as a service provider? And in that, how Hudu helps you. Why should your customers want you to use Hudu essentially? And so there's going to be things posted just like last quarter on our Reddit, socials, website. So follow us there. Some items that are included, you'll notice I posted all of these at the start of the webinar with what we included in the last quarter. It's going to be the exact same thing coming in this quarter. With this documentation series, and just like with everything else, we love your feedback. So send us over feedback on what you'd like to see, what you like, maybe what you don't like. Any feedback is good feedback. If you attend the monthly training webinars and don't do anything else, let us know. We want to know what is the most valuable thing for you, because that's the whole goal of this series, is to provide you resources that you can utilize and improve not only your documentation, but just your day-to-day workflows as a business. So events coming soon. We had a question in there that last time you talked to us at IT Nation. Well, we will be there again. Jordan and I are both going to be there, so come say hi to us. There's a couple other people on our team that are also going to be attending. But obviously, we met some people last year. Looking forward to meeting some of you again this year, or even reconnecting if we did meet last year. So November 6th through 8th, Orlando, Florida. We're going to have new swag this year. So whether you saw us last year at IT Nation or at MSP GeekCon, there's some new swag items this year. So, I got a Hudu koozie, a Hudu pen, Hudu sunglasses all right next to me right now. Come get some. You can have some of that swag yourself. Just come say hi at IT Nation. Another event coming soon is we have already solidified our AMA guest for this next quarter for managing your documentation. That is going to be Mendy Green, as I'm sure some of you know him in the community. He is, pretty big in the community, especially with the MSP Geek community. And so we're really looking forward to having him on for our AMA. Obviously, full of information. So if you have questions that you want to know about managing your documentation, I'm sure Mendy will be a pretty good person to be able to answer those questions for you. Again, Q&A, we kind of already went through that. So really at this point, obviously this was scheduled for an hour. But 40 minutes in, we'll be happy to give you back some of your day here, as I don't believe we have any more questions in the chat or the Q&A. So thank you again so much for joining us today. We'll stay on for a minute or two here just in case any questions come in. Otherwise, again, thanks so much. Follow us on our socials, our blog, our Reddit, and we'll be posting more information about, not only new content, but also new features. Jordan, you have anything else you want to add in today?
Not too much. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us today. It was great answering your questions. There were some great questions that did come up in the Q&A in the chat, and it's always fun to chat about features and see what people really want to see out of the product. So we appreciate all the support coming to these, and we hope that we can continue developing a product that benefits you and your team. So thank you again, and hopefully we see you for some of the training webinars and the Q4 product recap.
And to the anonymous attendee that just said, you guys are amazing, you're amazing. Don't know who you are, but thank you. Come say hi at IT Nation and don't be anonymous there. All right. Well, we will go ahead and wrap up for today. Again, thanks everyone for joining us. We love hosting these. We'll probably, next webinar we'll host will either be a partner webinar or our next monthly training. So we'll post that in Reddit, and you can come see Jordan and I's faces one more time before IT Nation. Otherwise, send us an email, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help with any questions you have. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.